Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the Screenwriting Step-by-Step Project, episode 239. My name is Glenn Gers, and I come to you every Monday through Friday, if I can make it, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Zone, to let you look over my shoulder, share my screen as I write a script. I am doing this in order to teach a part of screenwriting that I think is kind of under-taught, which is the work process of getting the script written. Not how to write a great script, not the universal structure of all stories, just how do you get your thoughts into an outline, into a rough draft, and revise that into a readable draft. That process is the thing that every writer has to go through over and over for their entire career. That is what writing is. But weirdly, most teachers don't seem to talk about it. I think maybe they think it's too routine, but it's really the whole game. If you can learn to have a process that works for you, that lets you write a little bit all the time that you need to write, every day if possible, that's going to solve every other problem. There is no plot problem. There is no character problem that can't be solved by keeping working through the process. So I am just trying to show you my technique for doing this thing. It's what I learned in a 25-year career writing for TV and movies. There was no one to teach me when I started. I had to figure this out for myself. So on my way out of the business, I am going to try and leave behind some tips, some techniques, some tools in case they are useful to you. If they are not, don't use them. This is not the right way. This is not the only way. This is just the way that I figured out. I think it's useful. I try to break it down into useful things that you can do the way you want. That's the story. So, if you have interest in my other theories about screenwriting, if you want to know what I really have to teach you, because this isn't really teaching, this is just sort of letting you watch me doing this. This is the Bob Ross of screenwriting. But if you want to know what I think about topics like genre, flashbacks, dramatic action, these are all in my first 3 playlists on the channel. The first one's called Screenwriting Essentials. The second one is Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft. And the third one is called Process Being a Writer. This is where I gave you everything I can think of that might be useful, broken down into short, practical lessons. These are just tips, tools, tricks, skills that might help. The topic of each lesson is in the thumbnail. It's a great big word that you can't miss, so you can figure out for yourself, oh, I'm interested in the process. Let me check out this process of questions video. That's what I have to offer for free at your convenience. Hello, Enco Red. Very nice to see you. Thank you for being here. What we are working on today is the pitch document. Hey, something else is here. Good to see you. So this is a document that there is no universal, formal, proper way to do this. I'm just going to show you a way that I think is useful. If you are trying to write a pilot for a TV series, the question that is going to be asked if someone likes it is, what happens next? What is the rest of the show about? How does it work? And while it's great to be able to tell them that in person, it helps if you have a document that you can give them that kind of pitches it for you. Do not do this instead of meeting them. It's always best to meet people if they like your work, but sometimes they will ask you for something to read. I believe it's a worthwhile thing to do. It's also a good idea because it helps you get your thoughts in order. Even if you never show it to them, it's nice to have it for yourself. Hello, John Frey. Good to see you. Hail and well met to you indeed, thusly verily true. Okay, so this document, these are just some notes to myself about what I need to get in. So this is form and structure. These are the topics that I'm going to have to write something about. And so I'm just trying to, boom, get some of this stuff in order. I'm basically making a little mini outline for myself here. These are not all Xena. This is McLean, Dundosky, Ted, Cameron. I'm trying to just think of all the characters. Because I'm going to figure out each one has, you have to remember, every character has their own story. And for me, I need to know a little bit about each character's story in order to write them. I need to know where they're coming from and where they're going to. So I'm just making a notes to myself here. I have to figure out the stories for all these characters. Boom. Shrimpton. Deacons. Okay, Madeline and Norman. Okay. Main events, that's the story, so I don't need that. So what I'm doing here is just trying to rough out in order to say to myself, you can't know that you got it right if you don't know what you're trying to do. So I'm just trying to make a list of things I need to do in this document. And I'm putting them here in these notes so I can say, okay, I need to talk about the form and the structure. Okay, so this is the summary. This is just a little pitch. There we go. You know, if they fall in love, here's the thing, I write, who meet and fall in love when they reluctantly, well, they're not going to fall in love if they don't meet. So when we're trying to keep it down to fewer words, that helps. Who fall in love when they reluctantly get dragged into. Get dragged into. A little more dramatic. Hello, Kirby. Hello, Kurt. Thank you very much. I am doing okay. I hope you are well, Kurt M555. Hi, Nathan. Great. I am so glad that you are enjoying that book. I am sure George Saunders would be grateful to you that you bought it, or your wife bought it and gave it to you as a gift, and that you are enjoying it. That is fabulous. Okay. Dragged, they reluctantly are dragged, get dragged. Get is a little more woof. Hi, Larry. Me too, and I take that as a compliment. And I would say that the thing that connected for me about that book and his teaching in general is, yeah, it just struck me as like, oh, he's talking like I need to have talked to me. I try to talk to you guys the way I would want to be talked to. So yeah, thank you. That is great. If I hate anything, it is filling out forms. Maybe the mistake I'm making is not thinking of them as fiction. Indeed, that is absolutely true. It's a little story. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. So, are reluctantly dragged. Yeah, it's are reluctantly dragged. I know that's passive, but I'm going to go with it just. Okay, just. Hunt them down. Hunt them down. There, that's very dry. You want, this is like the thumbnail description on a streaming service. This is like the what they used to call the flap copy on a book. There's the back cover, the little description that is supposed to give you a quick summary of what this is, but also make you want to read it, to hook you in. All right. So let's make this a headline. Boom. And then all right. So form and structure. I believe I wrote in this overview. I've already come up with some things here. Oh, models. Definitely we want the models. True. Okay. All right. So form and structure. Do I have anything here about that? I am going to say, hi, Donna. Nice to see you. Of 8-hour-long episodes. Each season of 8-hour-long episodes will tell a complete mystery thriller story with which is solved. Oh no, I'm just an ordinary citizen like you, Chaz. Some losses or additions. Return each season to take on a new mystery. Yeah. Okay. Who knows? It depends. Different shows have different things. Have you know, like, look around. Look, this is one where you can just like look around and figure out the answer to this one. If you look at Netflix, you'll find some shows have 6 episodes in a season, some have 8, some have 10, 11, 13, 12, some have 22. I don't know that network shows tend to have 22 to 25. So I would say I've never heard of a season that's more than 25 episodes. But I have seen some as few as 3. So the answer is there are no rules to how many episodes are in a season of a show. There used to be rules for network television because a season was however long it was about half a year's worth because they repeated them once a year. So that was about 25. Okay. Obvious answer. Have you thought about the whole story of this season, or is this live stream? This is just a live. It's not an obvious question at all. The answer is I am. I have indeed from the beginning thought, because I don't know how to tell a story even of a pilot, which has a story, a beginning, middle, and end. I wouldn't know how to tell that story if I didn't know where it was headed. That's me. Some people can do that. I need to know. I tend to work according to this plan. I need to know who's it about? What do they want? Why can't they get it? What do they do about that? And why doesn't that work? Those questions, what do they do? Why doesn't it work? That tends to be repeated several times during the course of a story. That's not just one thing. But then the most important thing is, how does it end? Because how it ends tells you what the story was really about. If it ends with the main characters dead, or if it ends with the main characters finding that they have solved the case but hate each other, those would be very different stories. If there's a story about, so to me, the thing that you need to know is, how does it end? So the answer is I'm doing right now what the answer is to this, which is, I do not know every detail. In theory, you could plot out the entire season or series in detail, make essentially outlines of every episode. However, that's the job of making a series. Nobody's going to buy your project and say, oh, we don't want to have any input. You just give it to us all done and show us this entire story and every twist and turn, and we'll just buy that. That's not how it works. Companies expect to have a great deal of input. Not only do companies, but then there's usually multiple companies involved and multiple people within each company. So you will have 3 or 4 executives at the network or the production company or the streaming service. And each one of those people is going to want to say, oh, I like this character more than that character, spend more time on them. Or, oh, I think that character should become should go missing halfway through. Whatever they want, if you've outlined every single bit of the story beforehand, you're just going to have to throw it out. Nobody buys a script and doesn't tinker with it. I have almost never heard of that would happen, that somebody would just say, oh yeah, that script is perfect, let's just shoot it. I've heard that Clint Eastwood once or twice has done that. I believe he did it with Unforgiven and Gran Torino, but I don't, that could also be kind of legendary. It's very unlikely. The reality is, the process of script writing is a collaborative one in which there are many forces and players involved who are giving you input, notes, suggestions with the force of insistence. So therefore, the point of a pilot is to show what the characters are like, what the style and tone are like, what your writing is like of this thing, the voice of it, the heart of it, and to hook the story, the beginning of the story. That's all a pilot does. And while you may have a certain sense, famously, for instance, in Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan knew that he wanted to start with a high school teacher and end with what he called Scarface, a violent, insane drug dealer. And he kind of did. But he didn't know exactly how he was going to get there. He just said, that's the shape I want, and these are some of the things I think are going to happen. So that's the answer is, do you have to know everything in detail? No, you should not know everything in detail. On the other hand, for instance, I am now writing what I think I know, what I would like, which is each season of 8-hour-long episodes. Okay, that's a choice. I am saying I want this to have 8-hour-long episodes. Will that happen? If I were to get this to a production company, they might say, no, we really want to do 6. Or they might say, 13 is really the number that we have. I have no idea why they make that decision. A lot of it has to do with money. It costs a certain amount to do an episode, therefore 8 costs less than 13. On the other hand, who knows? I don't know why these choices are made. Sometimes it's just like that's how it feels to them. We think this should be 3. We think this should be 6. Okay, so few okay. So this is basically what I'm saying is this is a serialized dramedy with, in theory, unlimited seasons to come. Okay. John Frey, I wrote my first dialogue segment in a scene and became discouraged by it. It felt weak. Did this happen with you? What no, definitely not wine. Wine will not help with that. The answer I have for this is that I did an entire video about this, which I called Fear of Writing. So I urge you to watch that, because that really talks about an extreme example of what you are saying, John. John is saying, what happens when you get discouraged or feel like what you're doing is no good, and therefore you need to do something different or approach it in some different way. And I had an extreme years-long version of that. I describe it in that video. The answer is yes, you do need to have a ritual. Oh, also, while we're at it, I do have a ritual. Create a Ritual is a video that I did about that exact topic. So I would say Create a Ritual is a really good one to look at for that. And also, Small Steps isn't here. Oh, there it is. There it is. Small steps, because that's one of the answers is do things in small steps. You don't solve all problems at once. So therefore, proceeding through the process, as you've seen with me, I have often said, I don't know what to do with that. For me, because I have gotten good at this, I will just say, if I hit something where it's like, I think this sucks, or I don't know how to solve it, I will switch to another thing and then come back to it or solve everything around it, and then the answer will become clearer. All right, so, okay. I'm going to make this a headline just to make it. I just got... There we go. Okay, so... All right, so the main characters are... Now, I think I'm going to do the shape of the season, the story of the season first. Season 1, story. Boom. Okay. That is possible. That's a good question. John, did you mean that, or did you mean? So is this is that what you meant? That in that video, Fear of Writing, I talk about how I was writing a play, and the very first thing that happens in the play is one character has to offer another a glass of wine, and I literally got stuck on how to say, "Would you like some wine?" I couldn't get past it. I could not think this is a better choice than that. And the answer is nothing is that important. Nothing. Do the best you can. Okay, cool. Sorry, I thought you meant wine moment, like I should just go have some wine, and that's usually not a good solution. Have the wine after you've worked. But yeah, the wine question comes down to this. If every single thing you think of feels wrong, feels bad, that's not what's wrong with the script. That's what's wrong with your thinker. That is that if you feel like everything you do is bad, then that's about the problem is your feelings, and you have to deal with them psychologically, personally, outside of your work. There is nothing you can write that will solve that. We all know great stories about famous artists, big celebrities who are paralyzed by self-loathing and insecurity, even though we all can tell that they're doing a fine job, but they feel like it's not good enough. If you feel like everything is not good enough, well, everything couldn't not be good enough. So it's got to be your feelings that are the problem. And you need to, frankly, get into therapy or read some self-help stuff. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of people have these problems. So therefore, there is a lot of stuff out there, articles online, books, podcasts where people talk about self-criticism or insecurity or lack of confidence or negative thoughts. Look into that. Search those on the internet. You will find tons of advice. You will find tons of psychiatric and psychological research and theoretical feelings. Just read a bunch of it, study a bunch of it, listen to a bunch of podcasts. You'll absorb different approaches. That's cool. Try them. See which ones help you. Nobody's got the right answer to any of this. So the answer is trying, continually trying, and also identifying what the problem is. Because if you believe that the problem is, oh, this is not good enough, but everything you do, you think, oh, this is not good enough, that's not the this. That's the you thinking that. If you think the same thing no matter what you're doing, then the problem is that you think that thing, not what you're doing. By the way, my answer to it was I spent decades, years and years and years trying to figure out, like reading biographies of artists and reading how-to stuff and having therapy and all this stuff to talk about, like, why do I keep shying away from something, feeling like it's not good enough, feeling like I have to do something else. It's not good enough always felt like, oh, another thing is better. So it seemed very positive. But I was never finishing anything, so it's not. Hello, Jonathan. So that's my answer is look into yourself, looking into yourself and work on it. Because the problem is, and sometimes it's just like you just feel bad that day. So do it again the next day and the next day and try, if it turns out that there's this one scene that doesn't work, that's different. Then maybe that scene isn't right. That's fine. But if you feel that all the time, that's not right. If that one scene doesn't work and you can't figure out why, do every other scene. Get everything else right, and by then you'll be able to figure out what's wrong with that one. In theory. Okay, so this is for me, the hardest thing is writing a synopsis of a story. For instance, do I start George, a true crime podcaster, is murdered? But see, this is the thing. This starts with George. So we think, oh, George is an important character. He's not. He's not. He's dead. So do I start with the pilot begins by introducing three main characters and a group. See, I could, like, there's so many ways to do this, and eventually you get down to yeah, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it this way. Or I could start with Madeline is a corporate executive in her 50s who likes her life. Safe, routine life. novelist in his 50s, late 50s, late 50s. Decline of and end of his own career by writing a book criticizing online culture. So like these are like, am I going to use all these? Probably not. I'm just trying to, and this is the hard, for me, far harder than writing a script is writing this hooky, advertising-y summary stuff. Okay. How many successes, finished scripts, did it take for you to get the model? That's a good question. 10, 15, 20, somewhere around there. It took decades, years and years and years and years. I mean, I didn't like get it all at once. I figured out what I'm telling you piece by piece over 25, 30 years. So, so the answer is the things I figured out, I only really got good at after 20 or 30 scripts, not to get really comfortable and good. But after 4 or 5, I was feeling a little better. The first few were hell. You get to like 5 or so, you're starting to feel good. What do you mean, Burgundy? It can really change the genre. What can? I'm afraid I have lost. Oh. All right. Boom. Together in the pilot. In the pilot. Together by the murder of George, Madeline's ex-husband. Very means the synopsis can feel like it can change the genre. Yeah, it can, but it shouldn't. I mean, in theory, you have the genre because in theory the script is in the genre, and therefore. It doesn't change the genre. It could mislead the readers about the genre. That is true. It could certainly mislead it. It can't change the genre. Oh, by the way, this is really important. I really think it's a good idea to write your synopsis when you have finished the script. That's what I'm doing now. It is you don't really know what you've got until you've got the script written. So when you start to synopsize it, you make promises that you won't deliver on. And you also start to set things in your mind that you really haven't decided. I urge you, and this is why I hate people who ask you to write a treatment before you write the script, and why I sort of insist on keeping things in outline form or something very rough and patchy, because it's important to keep everyone's mind open to the fact that until you actually write the script, you do not know what certain decisions are going to be. And the most important thing is, when people write these treatment synopsis things for projects that they haven't written yet, they tend towards the formulaic. You tend towards the things that have sold before because you're selling in your mind. And also, you're making decisions based on theoretical generalizations. Oh, this character is the hero, therefore they will do this. Until you actually get into the scenes, as you've seen us do here over the course of the past year and a half, you don't know for sure how these things are going to play out, what the proportions are going to be, what the actions are going to be. And so therefore it's truly, truly important, if at all possible, do not write a synopsis of your script before you have written the script. Okay. Synopsis writing, for example, if you present Moreland as too normal. Yes, exactly. That is completely right. So I would say, yes, exactly. Yeah, what Pergody is saying is exactly what I am saying, and why I am saying get the script done first, because if the way that you write the synopsis can change the tone, the so much about the characters, if you do not have them actually created already, you will tend to go with your synopsis instead of with your creative choices about making the script. Your script starts to get steered by the merchandising. It's a terrible, terrible idea. Producers ask for it. If you're going to do it, just do it as a piece of hype garbage, and try to remind yourself that this is not real. Yes, exactly. It's all good. All good. Yeah, wisdom is dispensed here. That is my job. Look at that. Took out the who is a journalist in his late 50s, struggling to cope with the decline in the end. And consequent early end of his career by writing a book. Chris says yes. Okay. In the pilot, they are all brought together by the murder of George. An online amateur detective community. True crime podcaster and a member of an online amateur detective community called Crime Crackers. The pilot brings these strangers together over the murder of George, when George Roisman is murdered. That's better. The pilot brings these strangers together when George Roisman is murdered. Madeline's ex-husband, true crime prosecutor members. There's so much of it. The first one is write a treatment before you write a script. That's the worst advice I've heard ever. Other advice, bad advice. Oh, I don't know. There's so much of it. So many people. You get like I can't remember what it was. Somebody was, well, I mean, like no flashbacks. There's so many. I've done things in other videos about just whacked out bad advice. Yeah. I'm going to stick right today with the write a treatment before you write a script. That's the worst advice I can think of right now. Zena is an avid member of Crime Crackers. Zena and Norman are both members of Crime Crackers. Oh, yes, that is indeed a fun question. A painful fun question. That's it. See, are both members are both crime crackers. In Crime Crackers. But Norman and each one has a secret. But Norman has a secret agenda. He's planning to write about the group as an example of what's wrong with culture. 21st century culture. Online culture. I can't say culture. On 23rd century. With the one example in his book. What's wrong with the 21st century? Yeah, that sounds good. Something just happened to my camera. I wonder what. Sorry, guys. It hasn't happened in a while, but let's see if we can see now. Okay, we're just going to leave it like this because here I am. All right. Zena. In the group with a secret agenda. Use the group as one example. Yeah. Do bios of each character. Yeah, that was, yeah. It doesn't help. Yes, exactly. Writing. Yes, Nathan's right. The bios of each character, the only thing I would say about the bios of each character is they don't have to hurt. They don't have to be a bad idea. They are, however, the thing about a character biography is it can help you if you to get to know the character, to understand them, to build them in your brain. But if you do not use the material that you are building in the story, yes, it can become distracting and wasteful, and even a problem because you can feel like you know this person, but nobody reading the story knows them as well as you do because the biography isn't in the story. So, yes, I would say character biographies are an example of something that is bad advice if you are told this is how you build a character. It's not. It's a useful tool when thinking about characters, but it is not how you create a character. You create a character by creating their story and their relationships within the story. That's how you're going to define the character. But it's not wrong to write a bio as long as you know what it's doing. It's like improv. Improv uh, for actors especially, but also for writers, is a way to explore things. You never know what's going to come. The point of improv is you're given a specific situation, which is like brainstorming. Um, that you in improv, you're like, what would happen if this character met that character, or what would the character say if they were in this moment? And then you just sort of riff and come up with stuff. Some people are better than others, but the point is that that stuff you come up with is not the end result. You then use that, you refine it, you cut some pieces and take some pieces or rethink some pieces, and then you use that. So the raw material of improv is actually valuable. On the other hand, there are people who believe, oh, if you improv live on camera, that's the same as writing. It's not. And although sometimes it can be good, like with character biographies, sometimes it can be bad. Yes, exactly. Templates, I do believe are not good. I can't really find a good use of character templates. Character templates means you say, what's their favorite food? Their favorite food is only important if favorite foods in general are important. Foods are important to them. It could be that they don't care about food. So, so these templates are where somebody says like, what's their greatest fear? What's their, best, memory? Those are interesting prompts that really, really can waste your time and steer you into bad directions. So I would say I agree with Burgundy and Nathan. Character biographies are possibly useful, but they're not the end result. And character templates tend to be not helpful at all. That's also why I don't like software that prompts you to fill in those templates or to fit into a predetermined set of questions. Every script is different, every writer is different, every story is different. There's just no way that one set of templates is going to create your story. Yes, exactly. Something that we are to develop a character. Exactly right, Nathan. That is exactly how I feel. And how I feel must be right? This is the most important writing lesson is nobody is right or wrong about this. If it works, if you end up with a story that others can read and understand, that's fine. What's important is it useful to you? Are you getting the work done because of this rule or plan or formula? Is it helping? Is it making things more productive and more creative and more fun? That's the key. Okay. Yes, that kind of character comes out in the story if it's necessary. Sometimes it's fun to know things about the character that nobody else does. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no, like if it helps you to imagine their favorite chair in the living room and what they do when they get home from work, if that helps you to get a feel for them, cool. Nothing wrong with that. If it helps you to know that their family, emigrated in a certain year, great. The only question is if at the end of that you write a scene which has a certain oomph because you feel like you know the character, great. If it's important to the character, great. That's what I would say, is that there is nothing wrong with imagining all sorts of things that don't show up in the script, as long as you don't use that instead of the stuff that should show up in the script. Yes, indeed, tools. You make use of it, it works for you, but it isn't made to fit everybody's mind. That is exactly right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is, like, for, it's just, it's whatever works for you. I do not know what Three Simple Facts is. Is that some kind of writing prompt or program or exercise? Okay, but I have not. Yeah, sometimes you want to keep your sentences short and get the information in later. Like the fact that he's murdered, he's a true crime podcaster and he's murdered. George was amateur investigating a long forgotten serial killer known as the chemistry set killer, because who used homemade poison in a series of murders 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Yes, I definitely should. And in fact, I am. Did you write that before I was writing what I'm writing? Because if so, the answer is yeah, absolutely. We got to get that in there. I don't know. Three simple facts. I was trying to channel what I do when I role play. You make the shell and the character fills it in a performance. Yes, absolutely. That is, there are different ways that different people, as Berkeley said, your brain, your mind operates differently than other people's. So for some people, by creating the biography of the character, it allows their unconscious creative mechanism to start to create. Great. For other people, knowing the situation that they are going to be in, the story, is what creates the creativity. The only thing that's important is that it's creative and that it gets organized towards a story that someone else can read and understand. But yeah, if asking three simple facts about a character or asking what their favorite color is or what their astrological sign is, whatever helps you be creative is good. It's just that simple. George announced that he had discovered new evidence identifying CSK. Okay, so good. We have summarized George. And I think that's a good place to stop for the moment, because we're hitting the end of the hour, and this is going to be quite a. I'm here, by the way. I'm just changing cameras again. There we go. Um, the answer is you need. This is a good way out. How much should you reveal about suspenseful? You should reveal enough to create suspense. um, in this proposal, I will actually get to who done it and what the twists are. I'm going to give away the twists in this proposal. Remember, this proposal is not the pilot. This proposal is to engage people who are going to collaborate with me on the story, ideally. So you don't want to say to them, oh, I can't tell you, hey network, I can't tell you what the story is going to be because I don't want to, no spoiler alert. They're like, hey, we're putting down like $1 million an episode here. We'd kind of like to know that you know what you're doing. So yeah, that is the game here. Is in this proposal document, you are not writing like a writer. You're writing like a worker. Okay. Yes, it's very important for some people to get that sign right. All righty. So this has been good, and we will continue to hash out this summary, and figure out what's important to tell and what's not important to tell, and how much detail can you go into before you bore the hell out of people, and at the same time you wanna like hook them and tell the story. It's tricky because you're still telling the story, but just in an entirely different form. But it is an entirely different form, and that is why I held off till after I had written the script before I did any of this, because it's a different form. It's like an adaptation of your own work. You are all entirely welcome. It is great to see you. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Until then, go write something.